anyone who follows my content on a regular basis knows that I've had my fair share of ups and downs with the whole idea of parenting. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel so grateful to be a parent. I know how privileged I am to get the opportunity to experience motherhood. But that being said, it can be so tough, particularly when you're trying to, I suppose, manage your career and also regulate mental health issues. You know, some days can just leave you literally on your knees. And the other day, I was getting my son ready for bed and I just pottered into the kitchen for a few minutes. And when I came back in, I just kind of glanced at him and he was kind of giving our dog a back massage. And I thought to myself, oh, that's so cute. He's rubbing the dog, because he's started saying the dog's name recently as well, and it's just the cutest thing ever. However, when I looked a little bit closer, he had dug his hand down into a dirty nappy of shit, and when he discovered there was shit on his hand, he decided to wipe it on the couch, and then when that didn't work, he wiped it on the dog. So all of a sudden I had a sitting room that stench of shit, a baby covered in it, and a dog that wasn't all that much better. And the mad thing is, that sort of stuff would normally really get to me, but I actually found myself just laughing out loud at the hilarity of it all. And then, you know, kind of trying to fix it all, baby first, then dog, then the couch, and finally got it all sorted out. But it put me thinking a little bit about, the level of compassion and understanding and patience and tolerance that we have with our kids, despite the fact that they drive us crazy. Now, I'm not just talking about a funny little anecdote like that. My child, at times, his temper tantrums, now that he's 2, are literally out of this world, you know, and it can be so difficult because, first of all, I find it really challenging to sit and witness distress without intervening, because ultimately he's just crying because I won't let him do something that's potentially dangerous, you know. And I find that so difficult, and he is extremely headstrong, which he probably gets from me. But no matter how bad the days are, you still are filled with this overwhelming love and acceptance and understanding for the child. And so seldom do we have that for ourselves, or indeed for our partners. And again, as I said, it just highlights the difference as well between self-esteem and self-compassion. And a lot of people come to me looking to work on their self-esteem. That's great. I mean, self-esteem is linked into your self-worth. However, no matter whether it's internal or external based self-esteem, it tends to be conditional. It tends to be tied into external validation. So that means that it is very subject to being undermined by some sort of change in your life, or the rug being pulled from under your feet. However, self-compassion and self-acceptance means that you have a level of self-worth no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how many failures have occurred, no matter how many setbacks you've experienced, no matter what's going on. And this is what we need to be working on, because I suppose this gives us the capacity for equanimity during times of adversity. And that's what we need. You know, we need to be able to be more tolerant, more robust, but more compassionate and understanding to ourselves and indeed to other people. And it's about having a kindness for the self. And that doesn't mean that you have to be in love with yourself, or they have to, think that you're God's gift on a daily basis. I mean, we talk a lot about the inner critic, and the reality is we all have one. And your inner critic is an internalization of any negativity or, any put-downs that you've received over the context of particularly your formative years. But that being said, your inner critic has a purpose. It has a role. And basically what it does is it tries to protect you. It thinks it's protecting you from harm. And when our self-concept is threatened, our inner critic tends to just kind of speak up and be like, oh, you don't want to take a risk here, this could end up very badly. And as a result, we don't tend to take chances. We don't tend to change. And it can really work against us. But that being said, it's not exactly our enemy either. So it's about having a little bit compassion for that inner critic and having acceptance for the fact that you have all of these kind of elements to your personality. You have your inner critic, you have your ego, you have all of these conflicting messages. I mean, literally, we can oscillate between being so full of ourselves and so egoic to our inner critic, intervening and being like, no, you're not capable of doing anything, and you're the worst in the world. And I suppose it's making room for all of those and recognizing that they're part and parcel of who we are, but that we cannot be fully steered by them. And I suppose this is where the self-acceptance and the self-compassion comes in, understanding our fallibility, understanding the fallibility of humankind, so we don't see our setbacks and our failures as being personal. We see them as an integral part of day-to-day life, things that happen to everyone. I mean, everyone has their own suffering, and it's just we don't always talk about it. We only talk about our accomplishments, our achievements, and this is where the whole kind of emphasis for self-esteem comes from. We all want to bolster our self-esteem, whereas we don't focus much on something as passive, or non-impressive, as just sheer compassion and kindness. And that's what we need to be looking at. If you struggle with finding self-compassion, if you struggle with self-acceptance, or indeed if you struggle with your mental or emotional health in any way, shape or form, get in touch with me on my website. It's fundamentals.ie. You'll also catch me on my Instagram and my Facebook. Both of those pages are called Fundamentals. I do lots of content similar to this on my YouTube channel, which is Fiona Feely. So go check it out, like, share and subscribe, and I'll talk to you again soon.